Menstruation in India has always been a subject of distaste, disgust behind the closed doors. That is exactly what Scarlet Tales intends to change. A couple of young, spirited entrepreneurs wanted to open these doors and change the way India looks at menstruation. Curated menstrual care packages that aim at transforming period experiences. The underlying mission of each of these boxes is to start the dialogue around period stigma. Even if there are only period and hygiene supplies in the kit, Scarlet Tales is all about making women feel that she is being cared for. Hey everyone, this is Nupur. Welcome back to the episode of Ignited Spirits Presents Leadership Series. Today we have with us a young leader, the founder of Scarlet Tales, having completed his masters and started his first venture at the age of 18. Now he's passionately working on the second venture, Scarlet Tales. He is an entrepreneur by choice, a feminist by fate, and a writer by passion. Bringing to you Sachin Jain's story, The Journey of Leadership. Let's begin. Hey Sachin, welcome to our podcast episode. It's great to have you here today and know about your experience of leadership with us. When I came across your work, the first thing that struck me was the involvement of men like you in this work of normalizing the periods. And I think you're doing an incredible work in the Scarlet Tales. So I want to know, like, what was that sparkling moment that made you start this beautiful initiative named Scarlet Tales? If you can share with us.
Sure, Nupur. And thank you. Thank you for having me here, first of all. And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast. So, what happened was, it was a series of events that happened back in 2018. So, I was going to my business school in Pune, Midas. And just 3 weeks before my business school, my sister had to be admitted in the hospital. Okay. And it was in the middle of the night. She has this excruciating pain in her abdomen, and we rushed her to the hospital, and then she was in there for about an hour. And when she'd come out, we asked the nurses that, what happened. They were like, she's got some kind of an infection, and it's because of poor menstrual hygiene. So I was like, okay, what is poor menstrual hygiene? Because it's a thing that happens to you all, right? And it happens to you all for the entire life, for all of your life. So why would you not take care of it? That was my first question in my mind. And that was that. So that was just the first experience that I had with regarding to menstruation or poor
Did you
menstrual hygiene.
question that at that point? Like whatever
Not
was
at that
coming?
point.
Okay.
Not at that point. I was just like, okay, so that might be a thing. So maybe she didn't take care of it this time around. And I didn't question it that time around. Moving on, 3 months later, now I was in Pune. I was into my business school, and we had this outreach program. It was like a rural immersion program from our college. And we were sent to unite rural villages of Maharashtra. And incidentally, my team was again given the product sanitary napkins to research on, right? So, like, what is the usage of sanitary napkins? How many people use it? Are they accepting? Are they having conversations? What is the problem that's actually stopping them to use them? And we had to do a little bit of groundwork before we went. And that time I knew, okay, so for the very first time, there is a problem. People refrain from talking it. And, the, there is some kind of hindrance towards proper menstrual hygiene, and there was a wall between, proper access to hygiene. So we went there. We tried to speak to a lot of women, and we went to medical shops. It was not a medical shop. They just have all-in-one chota sa kirana stores there. They hardly have anything over there, like, sanitary napkins, or they hardly have anything. But when you go inside, when we went to the rural villages, we got to know that women use uh, rak, rak ash. Then they use mitti, mud. They burn some kind of mud and use that on their vaginal parts during menstruation. And then those kapda, the ever famous kapda, the rags. So they use these things, and not because it's a taboo, because they do not know that what they're supposed to do, and they do not know, they lack these places lack period literacy. They do not know what options they have, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. It just happens to them as surprise, and they just keep doing what they're told to do before them, like their mothers and what people do in the area. Nobody goes and tell them. So what we found was, this is basic hygiene. It's as normal as breathing, right? It is a huge part of a woman's life, which happens to them for about 35, 40 years. Then why is it a taboo? That so she was my partner Akanksha. She was a friend back then, and I was asking her all these questions because we had to go back, make a or collate all the data and make a presentation to the jury member, because we were on outreach program, right?
Okay.
So I was asking her all kinds of questions, like, why are women not taking care of themselves? Why is this a taboo? This is such a normal thing. You should all take care of yourself. This is so, not right of your part. And all sorts of questions where, just, pointing at women. Why are they like this? Why can't they do it? And then things came out that, it is not only that these women want to do it, they do not want to do it to themselves, but these are other women who are stigmatizing these periods. There are no conversations happening around periods. There are moms, there are people, there are like nannies and dadis who are like, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, and they made them feel in a certain way during those days. And there's no proper knowledge here, because just because she's come a few years before them into this world, she knows better than you. Like, say that girl's mom or her grandmother, and they teach what they know. They don't want to go out and find out the right things, but they just want to teach what they know. And that was a huge problem that we thought, and we came back and we thought we wanted to present an idea to our jury members of how can we solve this problem. So we were like, what if we make period boxes with all the essentials that are required in the box, okay, and with the education which is supposed to be told to them in the box, so that they know what they're doing, so that they know, where this is heading and why this is all about, so that they can take care of themselves. So that was the idea, and we presented the idea. We won the whole thing amongst all the teams. They loved our idea. They loved our presentation. I also posted a little video, like, 1.5 video on YouTube of what we found out, what how like, men do have money for their daru and cigarettes, but women, for when it comes to women hygiene, men of course over there, they refrain to come in such topics. But even women, actually, I would say, fall in the same category, at least there, because they do not know. And even if they know, they just want to, keep their children away from all of these things, because that's how they've been, right?
Okay, so
So
like coming into a little personal level, were there any such situation at your home where this conversation would start up and you get involved in it, or was there a total restriction in this sort of conversation at your place?
my place,
Yeah.
I've never heard the word pad in my house ever in my life. I've never even seen a pad in my life. And the matter of fact, the ironic fact here is that, I've grown up with four sisters. And I have four sisters. We grew up in a joint family. So I had four sisters, a brother, and, like, it was a completely female dominant family. But even then, I had no idea of periods, what periods are, why it happens, what it resembles, nothing at all. And I've never seen a pad in my life. So all of this was very new. As I was growing into it, I was thinking that, this was all very new. And then after a point in time, I started believing that, even men actually have a role to play in menstruation. If they come in, I don't take pride in telling this, but I'm sure you'd agree to me that, men do enjoy a systemic privilege.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I thought men are the perfect allies to women in combating this menstrual stigma. And today, now my mom, just few days back, she was like, I got my period 15 days earlier. I don't know what to do. Please, can you tell me what to do? Now we can have these open conversations. We can talk about it. Like,
Yes.
communication is the only key to any problem in life. Like, if you can talk about it, it gets solved then and there. And we, from not being, from not having. So talking about my mom, if I go years back, like 10, 15 years back, when I was just like a 10-year-old kid, there would be certain days in the month when mom wouldn't go to the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And she would just stay away from the kitchen and all those household chores. And I used to go to mom and ask her, "Mummy, आप क्यों नहीं जा रहे हो?" And she used to tell me कि मेरे को crow ने touch करके चला गया, इसलिए मैं नहीं जा रही. I don't know what they
That's
told
a
you at home
myth.
or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I used to ask her, मैं जब टेरेस पे जाता हूँ मेरे को तो कोई क्रोध टच नहीं करता आपको ही क्यों करता है नहीं नहीं मेरे को करके जाता है so that was that like, you know have no conversations um and not involving young men or men if you tell about us only because you create it as a taboo as a shame by not telling us we think it's a bad thing we think that you know it's not supposed to be spoken about and we tend to keep it that way but if you ask me
True.
trust me all men what I've realized over last 2 3 years is men do want to be there men
Yeah.
do want to be a part and they want to come ahead and help them but they do not know how.
Yeah. Correct. Was there any sort of resistance in yourself, like when you were sort of planning to start the Scarlet Tales? You said it before, like I didn't know about what is periods, what exactly does it happen, and all. Was there any kind of resistance from yourself? Should I do this? What will people say if I start this venture or something?
Actually, so I was discussing this idea with Akanksha, and the moment this idea came through her brain, so she told me, and the next moment I was like, I want to do this. I don't know, maybe that's an inner calling, what you call it. It was just in the gut that you want to do something like this because I'm a person who's fueled with this passion for change. Like if I think I have a role to play in something, and if there's something wrong that I want to stand up there and I want to do as much as possible so that there I can see change. If I can see that, it really motivates me, it really pushes me to do more and more. So as like you told that the moment she told me that idea, I was like, I want to do this. And just talking about that, I was just here with a group of friends and she told me that idea. I told her I want to do this. 10 15 minutes later, there was my coach. I went and told him, sir, हम लोग को ये चीज करना है. I couldn't explain it that well there and there. The first thing he told me was, बकवास है ये सब, नहीं चलेगा, नहीं करना ये. He told me that, but a lot of people, not only him, but not a lot of people told me ये नहीं चलेगा और चलेगा, and a lot of people encouraged me to do this. But surprisingly, I come from a Jain family. Okay, I don't know if you know how Jains are. They don't fall into such topics. They don't
Okay.
fall into like these personal levels. But then my family has been really, really supportive of this, and that was a huge plus. And that gave me motivation to actually work for this and become a mental advocate.
That's really great to hear. Like coming back to Scarlet Tales
Yeah.
topic, now I just want to know, like, if we see around, then there are a lot of organizations working on this menstruation hygiene products and all sort of things. So I want to know, like, how Scarlet Tales function differently in comparison to other organizations, and how challenging was it to put it forward with this differentiation factor.
Right. So Scarlet Tales initially started as more like a luxury product, I would say, because it was like, it was not luxury if you see, it was like, all the hygiene that you need according to what doctors say, like that's basic hygiene. We used to make curated boxes and sell. But somehow in the start, we were selling a few boxes. We had quite few subscriptions, but not amazing numbers. Okay. So we had to pivot. And then when we pivot, we came to be only a sanitary napkin brand. So that's what we are today. We are only selling sanitary napkins. So now coming to the differentiation part is, of course, the product. So the product differentiation is there, but the idea differentiation, what we have here is, I believe that if you've seen our website, I don't know if you've seen, but we
Yeah,
have
I
these
have seen it.
huge, really nice
Wow.
boxes that we've
Yeah.
made, and we wanted to challenge a few things here, right? Number one, why should menstrual products come in such small packs? It used to go in polythene bags. I don't know if it still happens, polythene bags or newspapers, but they're still, put in some corner drawer in the house. It's not seen, and probably that is why it's off the dust. The conversations don't happen. So, like, can we challenge that? Can we initiate conversations through our box and not overpricing them? So we came up with these boxes. We gave them much better. We researched on the product for about a year. We came up with really amazing sanitary napkins, and then we made these boxes. And if you saw our brand more closely and the tagline of it, it says "Talk about it." Period.
Yeah.
So we have tips and tricks of how can women initiate conversations around periods in that box. So we want men to be involved in this, and that's the differentiation, the bottom line that we work around with.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Like, you guys also I've seen in the website itself, it says you make the period experience special for the woman through this initiative. That's
Yes.
great to hear. Like coming back
Thank
to
you.
the sort of stigmas in the society related to periods, like there's always this stigma, in the related to this conversation of periods dealt with respect to gender. For example, at school level, as you mentioned, like uh, the conversation didn't happen and you want to be get involved, but you weren't the part of it. So if I tell about my personal experience, like when I was in 8th grade, there used to be a seminar which was conducted, and the girls and boys used to be separately. I mean, boys weren't involved at all. Like girls used to be separately, called for the seminar, and they used to be taught for all these topics and all. So at this, I want to know, like, at your personal level, were you in this situation at some point? And if you were there, then what sort of feelings you had with respect to this topic back then?
Back then,
Yeah,
you're saying back then we were in the same room, or where we
like,
taught about menstruation?
yeah, when you were in sort of school level, or
School,
yeah,
no
no
idea
idea.
at all. I'm
Okay.
telling you, I had absolute zero idea of menstruation. Nothing at all. Just I came to know in like 11th grade or 12th that something like periods happen to women. To be very honest, I had no idea. Something happens. I knew something happens, and that's that. And it's women's issue, and it's completely a gender issue, and men do not have anything to do with it. That was my thought, and that's all I knew.
Yeah, I see that's the major problem which is existing. Even nowadays, the education system is such a way, like schools are, I don't know what's the situation right now, but still in schools, the conversation also, it's sort of a taboo. Like you can't speak about periods openly with boys. So yeah, it still exists. And
Exactly. So
yeah, and when we talk about periods, there's always this generalization, okay, that only women bleed. However, not all women bleed, and some who bleed are not women. That's the transgender. So this
right,
again,
right.
leads to the lack of sexuality education, which is existing in the society. And how do you think this can be accepted by people, and what can make the people more aware of this according to?
Talk about it. Talk about it. Period. That's all I would say. If again now, if when I was a 5 year old, if my mom sat me down, if my dad sat me down and told me this is what is a woman's body, this is what happens to them, and this is why it happens to them. This is the symbol of femininity. This is the symbol of her fertility, and this is why humankind exists today. And if you had told me that, I would have had it in my mind, and then I would have respected it that way, right? And that goes with different sexualities and different ways, different genders that women want to be, or people want to be called, you know, called themselves by with gender. But it's all in the conversations. It's all in the education which you give at a very critical age when you are like about 10 to 11 years old, or probably now it's all 6, 7, or 8 years old. People know everything, so you're supposed to tell them and not stigmatize it, so that
Yeah.
later on they do not have this thing in back of their mind that it's something that it's not my issue, or it's a gender issue. And coming on to that, I just want to add one more point here. Back, you're a 90s kid. Are you a 90s kid?
20s. I mean, 2000s.
20s, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but still, growing up, probably in 2000s, early 2000s, or 2008s and 9s and 10s, there were these ads. There are two things: newspapers and ads, wherein most people would be educated about anything in life. Back then, internet was not such famous, and we didn't have access to internet. But then advertisements, TV advertisements, and newspapers. So, but I would say TV advertisements was where young guys or other people would watch. So we're there in these commercials, these sanitary napkin commercials. Now what they're showing is there's this girl who is not feeling well, who is completely distressed. Her life is not going right, and all of a sudden, her mom comes out. She pulls out that wand kind of a magic sanitary pad. She hands it over to her, and all of a sudden, just like that, she has all the power in the world to achieve anything. She's running all
Yeah.
over the place. She's playing tennis properly. She's doing gymnastics, like no special skills required. So for us now, as a child, and now I think about these ads, it further used to you know, further used to tell me that menstruation is a debilitating evil. When it happens, if it happens, women are really, really bad, and bad things happen to them. But then when you hand out that magic pad, everything sets right. And right, that's really not correct.
Yeah, 100%. So there's the stigma also they show in the ads. Now the situation has changed. Like they're showing the red color on the pads
Red
in the
color,
advertisements. Before they were showing the blue color. Again, that was
exactly.
sort of
Misleading.
contradicting. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, now coming back to one of the another major issue which relates to periods is the period poverty which is existing. As you mentioned, like the condition you went for a project, you have did that ground level work. So if I quote some of the facts which are mentioned by the Indian Ministry of Health, it says like only 12% of menstruators in India have exposure to proper period products, and the rest of 88%, however, is they're largely dependent on unsafe materials that you mentioned, like rags, cloth, sand, ash, as their only alternative. So they're not aware of all these products. So, do you think the role of government can make a change in this, or is there any way out? Like, is there any way out? Like, only the NGOs can be a part of this, or should the government involve? If involved, in what
Oh
way,
my God.
according to you?
Absolutely, government should involve in this. Now, I think a few months back it was in the news that the government of Poland, they told that all the menstrual products in the country would be given free to women. That's a bold and that's a welcoming step. Now, you imagine if government, if now you just this is hypothetical again. If really men had periods, I'm telling you today, all the menstrual products would have been given free.
True,
It's
true. If
I'm
I,
telling you,
yeah,
this must have happened. There would have been a huge allocation in the budget wherein all the sanitary products and all the products which comes for the tampons, cups, and pads would have been given free to people. But that's not the case. Sadly, that's not the case. So 100% government has to come in. They're doing it, but at a very small scale. Like the government of Tamil Nadu distributes around 2 crore pads every 3 months. They do a drive. There is this Mumbai government, Maharashtra government, which does it. But on a whole, if you see, the numbers are actually very small.
yeah,
So you're talking about almost 65 crore women in India who menstruate. 65 who might or might have menstruated in their life. Out of that, there might be active, if you take hypothetically 70% menstruators. So that's still around 50 crore active menstruators every month. So numbers are in there, like 2 crore, 3 crore pads can't do anything,
yeah.
right? So the government has to come in. They have to bring in some reforms. They have to give relaxations to. There was also a tax on tampons before, but they've taken that. They've lifted those taxes now. So definitely, if you can, if we all can wise up together and make the government hear, then this is something they have to look towards to, and bring some really good reforms for menstruation and period products.
Definitely. Like the change is slow, but we should have hope for the future, and definitely we should work on that.
Yeah, we should
And
definitely.
if I like sort of want your perspective upon what do you think? Like, will there be any situation in India where the India will be sort of free of poverty, freer from period poverty in coming years? Do you see India like at that stage?
You just hope so. Maybe there
Okay.
is some government who comes in and tells, this has to stop. And they want to stop this by hook or crook. And they can do it. Like nothing is impossible. Like if they can bring people together, they can do it. But for that, you need someone who really thinks and feels about this cause, and a government who's really empathizing these women. And then we want to see some really strong reforms which can change the course of menstruation in India.
Great. So now I want to ask you some sort of personal life experiences or your personal journey. Like you started your entrepreneurial journey at a very young age. Before this venture, you have ran another venture itself. at a young age, and so I want to know, like, what were the mistakes that you did in the previous venture that helped you start and sort of put it forward in this venture, and if you want to share those mistakes and learnings with us, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, mistakes, you do them every day when you're a businessman. Trust me, you do them. It's inevitable. Like mistake in lives in entrepreneurship are inevitable. But just to name a few, I would say, you're always supposed to start small. You're not supposed to put all your eggs in one basket. It can really hamper your growth. It can put your morale down. Like start small. If you have 10 rupees, put in probably 2 rupees, see how it works, then put in another rupee and then see how it works. The mistake that we did was when we had 10 rupees, we were so confident, we were so optimistic, it put in 8 rupees in the basket, and it didn't work. Nothing worked out. I'm telling you, we were on a verge to be shut down. Our business was not sustaining. Then few things happened in our way, luckily, after a few months, so we could survive and our business sustained. But then start small. That's one bottom line I would give. Start small, because the degree in which you make the mistakes are small if you start small, right? So that's one thing I'll tell you, because the rest of the things, no matter how much I tell you, no matter how much we discuss, you're only going to learn by through experience. But if you start small, you say that I want to first serve 50 people, then 100 people, then 200 people, then it really makes sense and help you grow at a proper rate. If you think I want to do 1,000 people at the first, I'm sorry, you won't be able to do it unless you have a great team backing you up. You won't be able to do it.
100%. That's great. That's a great insight. Okay, now I want to know, like, what are the major skill sets a person should have if he or she is starting sort of startup or any social initiative, according to you?
Number one is, according to me, is empathy. I mean, you have to understand people. You have to think from their perspective. You have to treat them as humans, because that is very important in today's day and age. Because a lot of these startups, even this startup, had come out through empathy. Like there'll be people in your office whom you work with might be late someday, might not show up on time, might not do their work on time. We have to realize one thing, that at every point life is happening, and life is happening to us, life is happening to them. So we just have to empathize. We have to sort of build a connection with people whom you work with, have that connection going with them, and that really helps you going. That sets up your morale, that sets up people's morale, because they start believing in you. And when they start believing in you, you really pumped up, and you know that you have 4 people behind you who are really going to be there for you. Even if you mess it up, they're going to be there for you, because you understand, they understand you. And that's the power. That's how you get started, and that's how you start flourishing slow by slow.
Perfect. Like the purpose should be very clear in whatever you're
Oh,
approaching.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, the purpose should be clear. There should be purpose. And I'm saying the basic thing that you ask about entrepreneurship, when you start up, you need empathy. And because
Yes.
when you start up, you're solving a business idea. You're thinking about your customers. You want to create a change in their lives. So the bottom line is, you need to practice empathy.
Correct. So we have already come to the end of this podcast. One last question I want to ask, like, what are the future plans of Scarlet Tales, and where do you see yourself and your organization in coming years?
I actually have not told that to anybody, but okay, since you've asked and we're on air, I'm going to tell you. So I have a dream. Okay, I have this scarlet dream. If I were to work on this for the next 5 years, and if I were to take it to the next level, then I want to create a community for mothers and daughters, wherein they can come in, they can feel safe, they can talk about things, they can do the right things for their daughters. I mean, there'll be hundreds of moms today who do not know what they're supposed to do at certain points of time in their lives. It's not only regarding menstruation, it's regarding a lot of things in life. There might be how to communicate to my daughter, there might be relationship problems, there might be a lot of things. So I want to create a safe space for women, wherein they can come and they can talk, and they can be there for each other, and they can share the stories. A platform, a community for and mother-daughter duos. That's what I want to do with Scarlet Kids.
Great. I really hope it comes true, and all the very best for your
Thank you so
upcoming
much.
venture. Awesome.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sachin, for sharing your story. It was wonderful and inspiring to listen to your story, and the entire podcast was really we talk about different, issues related to period poverty and the other aspects of stigma related to periods, and it was really a good conversation. Do you like the conversation so far?
100%. I really enjoyed. I thought I'll be really nervous because I've not done it in a very long time, but you've taken this well, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. And
Thank you.
appreciate to have me on this podcast.
Thank you so much. Wishing you luck with all your upcoming ventures and plans.
Thank you so much, and all the best to you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for our upcoming content.